Well, guys, howdy. Good evening. Michael here from Advanced Etowah. If you'll notice, I am not streaming as Advanced Etowah. Apparently, Facebook has made some changes. So we'll figure that out later, but we're at least getting it on the internet. We're on YouTube and the op group. So please hit that like and share button, and we're going to get rolling through. I don't know if you saw my post yesterday. We've got the questions, but we are here to talk with our state representatives. It is coincidental that our two folks that could not be here tonight for conflict for their schedule, Andrew Jones and Craig Lipscomb, are also unopposed. So, I hate that they weren't able to make it here, but fortunately, they don't have to debate with themselves anyways. So we will jump into this. But guys, here's some of the ground rules. Please, if you've got questions or comments, I'm not going to be really pulling up questions. We've kind of got a set group of questions, and we'll go through and certainly hope that the candidates, offer up enough detail in their answers. But please ask your questions, make your comments, and I certainly encourage the candidates, as always, to jump in the comment sections on these different things and answer. Or you can always head over to advancedetowah.com and head over to our app to the find their profiles. Super easy to get a hold of all these guys. They answer emails, they answer phones, all that kind of good stuff. So reach out if you've got more detailed questions. Also, we are keeping this more in the realm of business environment, business development, and business growth for our county and community. So I think I've beat that dead horse enough. Hopefully PETA doesn't flag me for saying that. That's what we're here to talk about. So I'm going to try to be as quiet as I can and let these gentlemen talk. But we're going to start out with, we're going to do a quick couple minutes they'll have to kind of introduce themselves, say what they want to say. And then we've got 6 questions that we're going to go through. Each candidate will get, they've drawn from a hat, and they are going to get the lead on various questions. The first person gets 2 minutes, and then everybody will get a 1-minute follow-up from that. And then we'll see how that goes, if there's any further discussion on that topic, and then we'll move on to the next question, and so on and so forth. And that's going to be about it. And then of course we'll get a couple minutes at the end for them to wrap up anything. We have discussed chair throwing, and everyone has been patted down. They've gone through metal detectors for knives, shivs. Unfortunately, some may have brought in a pen or have gotten creative with their techniques. So hopefully we will not see any violence tonight, because again, Facebook will probably flag that and shut us down. I'm kidding. Somebody out there's going, how's this going to go down? So, all right, guys. Again, if you are watching now, please hit that like button, share button, and drop a comment, and make sure. I would appreciate at least somebody saying that the audio is good, that you can hear me, and get this thing shared up to different areas. So I guess I should also say happy Cinco de Mayo. So if you happen to be at a Mexican restaurant consuming large amounts of tequila, perhaps it's best to not comment on the video. But hey, it's the internet. You do what you want to do. So, all right, guys, let's jump over. I'm gonna flip the camera around, and we'll get the guys on, and we're gonna start with Mr. Mark Gidley, and let them start introducing themselves and give them a couple minutes. I'm gonna throw a timer up on the screen to help me keep track, and we'll see how this goes. So, guys, again, thanks for joining us. I'm gonna flip around. There's our illustrious panel. They can't see themselves, so we'll maybe that's something we need to deal with later. But gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. As I've thanked each of you in our individual interviews and discussions, I am super appreciative of your willingness to serve our community. Win or lose, I have certainly got a newfound respect over what I've been through the last 2 years with the political world and the fun or lack of fun that it can be. So anyone that is willing to endure has my respect, and I certainly appreciate that. So, without any further ado, Mark, do you want to start off, and we'll give you 2 minutes, and tell everybody who you are, what you're about, and we'll get it started.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Mark Gidley, and I am a candidate for House District 29. I live in Hopes Bluff, Alabama. I live where I grew up, and my father, grandfather, great-grandfather lived. And so I got deep roots in this county and in this region. I've raised my family here. My grandchildren are now being raised here. This is my first time to run for public office. I believe the Lord has positioned me over the course of the last number of years, pretty much my adult life, to live a life of service. I am really excited about carrying that level of service to another level, serving the people of District 29, both in Etowah and Calhoun counties. I believe there's been a lot of things that have transpired in my life over the last few years that have prepared me for this, and I'll maybe get a chance to go into more detail with that later on. But I'm running for this office one reason, and that's to serve my community, to serve the needs of my community, and to be a good listener. And the people I've talked to, even this week, many of them said, we basically want people to listen to us so we can share what our needs are. And I think that's extremely important for someone in legislature to be able to do. So that gives you a quick introduction to me quickly. I think I got a few seconds left. 21 years I spent in the insurance business. I've been in full-time ministry the last 24. And so I'm just excited about serving my community in a higher level as their state representative.
All right. Well, let's start that clock over, and
I think your power supply came on.
Yeah, no, I'm good. It did, but we're still live. So let me start that clock over, and we'll get you, Jamie, and go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are.
Hey guys, I'm Jamie Grant. I'm a lifelong citizen of Etowah County. I'm a 22-year retired combat veteran. I've deployed 3 times to Afghanistan. I went to West End High School. I retired in 2018. I became an Etowah County Commissioner in 2020. I own a business up in Aurora, Alabama called Little Burton's. I've served Etowah County my entire life since I was 18 years old, chasing drug dealers, fighting for our rights. And I appreciate your vote on May 24th, and we're going to continue this fight. Thank you.
All right. Well, then we'll move on to Gil and start another timer. So go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
All right. My name's Gil Isbell. I'm the present representative of District 28. Married with a 12-year-old daughter. I grew up in Gadsden. I left for about 25 years and moved back, and then left again for about 3 years and permanently moved back in 2009. I decided to run for office basically to give back. I do a lot of charity work, and I just wanted to give of myself to try to help my community. The bottom line is, to have somebody in Montgomery that will represent the constituents to the best of their ability. And it's been a great and rewarding experience. One thing I will say is, as a representative, we're back about 3 miles off the front lines where the county commission, the city council, and the mayors, they're on the front lines every day. But we're here to support them and also all the constituents of your district, but also support the citizens of Etowah County and the citizens of Alabama. And this will be the second race that I've run for, and would appreciate your consideration on May 24th.
All right. So I am having technical difficulties, as I had hoped not to have tonight. So give me just a moment. All right. The fun of technology.
When it works, it's great.
It's a sunspot. I believe it's a sunspot.
When it works.
We're using solar.
We always blame sunspots when we couldn't get signals.
I think we're on solar. It's night, isn't it?
It's a sunspot. Trust me.
As our Kramer told time, Seinfeld, he said he looked at the sun and she said, "How do you tell time at night?" He said, "Well, it's harder."
Hey, this is no lie. We were in Africa, and I was on the airfield, and I was running. And so there's a little kid that came out there when I was running, and he said,
All right. I think we are back. Beautiful. Sorry, guys. It is what it is. The technology works. So we. Are you watching over there? Okay. Awesome. Great. Well, let's move on to Mac, and then let's get into some questions. So go ahead, Mac.
I'm Mac Butler, live right here in Rainbow City, but my wife and I both were raised in Gadsden. We moved to Rainbow City in the 80s to raise our family down here. In 1985, at the age of 22, I quit my job, and my wife and I had been married less than a year. We founded Butler Electric. In 2000, we founded Butler Properties, which invests heavily in Etowah County and puts back in the community. I've had a lot of cool jobs over my career. The coolest is being a dad, but it's also the most important. We have spent a lot of time investing in others and mainly investing in young people, trying to mentor. Today, we have almost 50 families that we feed each week out of our two businesses. I think the business aspect and the things I've learned, because I started at 11, I delivered Gadsden Times for 3 years downtown Gadsden. You learn a lot there, worked at Jack's 2.5 years, and as my career moved forward, you learn a lot working with people. I served many years as PTSO president at John Jones and then at Rainbow Middle School. Served as a deacon, a coach, a scout leader. Served 13 years with the Etowah County Sheriff's Office, donated every bit of that time, even spent a year in the police academy. My last name, Butler, is one who serves, and I learned from my parents that my dad's still living and gives back every day to the community, but firsthand to invest in others, and that's my job and feel like my calling, and I honestly feel called to serve, and that's why I'm seeking this seat again.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Again, thank you for being here. Let's jump in. The format that we came up with, we are going to start out with the leadership question. So who has got the leadership? Mac. All right.
Grand prize winner.
So the question, and again, guys, these questions were sent out to everyone. So they've had some time to think about it. But the leadership question is, what type of leadership should citizens expect out of our elected officials? So 2 minutes to you, and then everybody else gets a minute to follow up.
Well, I'm going to kind of focus on what got us here. And first of all, I got to thank you and Christy Knowles, personally, you two are here, for the incredible job you did of bringing the community together. The leadership we've all experienced that brought you guys together is the exact opposite of what we want. We need community-minded with business sense, common sense, and sharp leadership. You know, what brought us all together, pushing in the same direction, was the city of Gadsden trying to force, and Connie and I, our family is the closest to the proposed rendering plant, so we were one of the hardest to fight back. But we need leaders that will lead community-minded in the spirit of everyone. And one of the biggest things I've learned, whether it was I served as a state textbook committee, state library board, served on state electrical contractors board, manager at Jack's when I was in high school, and in my own business. You've got to lead by example, but as state representative and as your school board member, I learned mainly to listen to the people I work for. One of the biggest things we need to tackle with leadership, and I plan to introduce legislation, is to change the Gadsden Airport Authority county-wide representation with people from a background of aviation. Just like 4 years ago, when I changed that, the city of Gadsden, which has the school system is an academic powerhouse, but it was failing because of the appointment of the city leaders to the city council. And I forced the legislation against the will of the city of Gadsden to where it's an elected school board where they're accountable to the people, where the people could recall those that worked for them, that we need to do something similar to that on the Gadsden Airport Authority. That airport authority should be the crown jewel recruitment tool for our county, not just a dumping ground like it is now. I know this is not really the question you asked, but that's where I was wanting to go, because I think what we saw and experienced with Gadsden, me being in a community, I feel like we're all on the same team, but here lately we all felt like we were choosing sides and fighting, and Gadsden was the bully in the room that was not being a good neighbor. So I'm going to always reply to people and respond. And when I was in the legislature for 6 years, I posted every single bill on my Facebook page and got community involvement and made them aware of everything.
All right. All right. Well, we'll circle around this time over to Mark and let you follow up with your thoughts on leadership and what we should expect out of our elected officials.
Well, I agree with a lot of what Mac is saying, but to other leaders to shoot one goal, and that's to make sure that I do what is going to make my community better. That's just a quick answer there to what I believe the qualities of leadership must be in those that are elected to political office.
All right. Jamie, you want to follow up?
Yep. It's honesty and common sense. I mean, I think there's no doubt that all of us are pretty much on the same page, but it's going to boil down to who has done what, right? I've been around the world. I've dealt with leaders in other nations. I understand how people work and think, and being able to make decisions that come at you, right? You're always going to have to interpret what's going on and make decisions in a hurry, right? We don't always have time to go down and think about it. We have to respond, right, when things come at us. And sometimes we have to have leadership who's been around the world and done things, right? And we know how to react and respond. And there's not many of us who have been in conflict or have been in certain situations that know how to handle stress, know how to handle people when they're upset, and not get intimidated by those who are demonstrative or who are coming at you with anger. And we just have to be able to take our time and not get in panic mode just because their hair's on fire.
All right. Gil.
I see a leader. I see a leader representing all the people. It's just like in the circumstance that Mac was talking about. There were some things that brought this night together from this particular group, that there were a lot of people that were on one side, there were a lot of people on the other. You know, I didn't stand up and grandstand for or against it, but I tell you what, I went out and I talked to people all over the county. I talked to people in Rainbow City and Gadsden, and in the end, I think it's a leader is one who solves problems, who listens to the people, and in the end, if it's a divisive issue, let's solve it, let's get rid of it, or let's take it forward. So I think that a leader has the characteristics of being able to work with anybody, even if you totally disagree with them, and coming up with a common solution that solves the problem. And I think you have to cross over a lot of boundaries to do that. And it's really about relationships as well. And that's really one of my biggest virtues is relationships. I deal with people well, and whether you're in Montgomery, whether you're locally, with the municipalities, you know, the mayors, the city councils, the county commission, you know, I have good relationships with them all because I listen to them. I follow up with them. I answer their questions, just like all the constituents that call me. If you call my office in Montgomery, it actually is forwarded to my cell phone because I want to be available. And unfortunately, I've had a lot of 2 o'clock in the morning calls, but I answer them. And I ask them I'll call back tomorrow.
All right. Well, guys, I think I've had a few little technical glitches. So if you're out there in internet land, I hope everything is. Looks like we're 4-0, so we're working good. So I'm getting a thumbs up from my illustrious assistant back there. We will move on. And who has got government structure?
I couldn't see it. I have my glasses on. Thank you.
Okay.
I guess
I
it
was cheating you. I was looking at your notes.
All right.
those they're really definitive.
So again, as I've discussed multiple times, the government structure that we've had a lot of issues that have come out through this past couple of years, and a lot of people that I think have realized either some structures that are good, certainly some structures that are bad. A lot of us that have just gotten informed on the basic structure of the government that we, probably forgot about in a civics class that we never paid attention to anyways. But we definitely saw some key issues with government structure here in Etowah County. We've all had some good conversations about how the government is structured here. So the question tonight is, what can be done at the state level to create a more transparent and collaborative government in Etowah County? So we'll start with you, Gil.
Interesting. To create transparency actually starts locally. It doesn't start in Montgomery. It's the people, and that's actually as a legislator, you can actually go and you talk and communicate with your different municipalities or the counties, the relationships you develop. Now, the structure and I know that everything is y'all are talking about, I assume it's the Gadsden Airport Authority. There will soon be a new administration that's in place. And what they can do, they can evaluate, should it be an airport authority? Should it go back under the city of Gadsden? And, Mac mentioned about doing legislation to make it all county-wide. Well, presently, from what little I know about it, is that it is a Gadsden Airport Authority and would be under the auspices of Gadsden. So I don't know, you would have to deal with the Department of Defense, because they're the ones that originally gave it to the city of Gadsden. But again, right now, from a government structure standpoint, we have 11 municipalities in the smallest county in Alabama. But I tell you what, there's more cohesion right now than there's been in a long time. Now, redoing the structure is going to be very difficult because there's been talk about doing a full county municipal government. That would never work because there are too many people that have parts of the pie that would not want to divide that up. So I don't think it's about changing the structure. It's figuring out how to make the structures work better together. And what I've seen lately from the last few days in the announcement, I think that working together is the key for this structure.
All right. Let's move. We'll go to the left this time. So Jamie, I guess my left.
Your left.
Sorry,
I
not.
was going to be going in a circle all the time. I didn't know.
So we'll go that direction this time. So Jamie, what's your thoughts on the government structure and what can be done from the state level?
Well, I believe in small government, right? So I think that everything should be handled at the lowest level. So unless Gadsden or the Airport Authority wants the state to get involved, we do not need to. I think the state should be assisting state, county, cities, and the mayors in whatever they're wanting, not dictating or telling them what they need to have done. Is my thoughts on that, and help them in their respective areas. And it's the state's job to assist and provide the asset if that's needed, not dictating their needs.
All right. Mark, over to you.
Okay. Well, lots been said about transparency, about communication. I think that's extremely important. When we look at government structure, I think the first thing we have to do is see what's working and what's not. If there are certain structures that are stalemating, standing in the way, and are stonewalling certain things that need to move forward, then we need to come together and see what we can do to restructure that. Because it's about moving our community forward. It's not about who gets to control, who's got this or that. It's about what is the goal for my community and what's the goal for my region to make it a better place, to bring in industrial development, to move it forward economically. So we need those structures that will do that. I'm not familiar with all the current structures we have, but as a representative, I will be more than willing to sit down and work with each structure to say, are we accomplishing our goals? Are we creating the atmosphere? I know what's been mentioned about the airport authority is that, to me, the airport is a great entity that could be a tremendous drawing tool, has already been mentioned, for industrial development. If it's not doing that, then we need to come together collaboratively and work together to see what we can do to create that so that we can use that as a great tool to bring industrial development into our city. So that's just kind of my take on our government structure.
All right. Mac?
All right, I'm going to go off on a little different tangent here and try to take you back to your high school government class and civics. But most people don't understand that our legislature is literally our absolute last line of defense against the federal government, against executive overreach. We went through where the government shut down our churches, kept liquor stores open, closed our churches, kept abortion clinics open, closed our churches, and kept Walmart open, closed mom and pop small businesses. But the legislature failed to act. Just like with the airport and the rendering plant, had our legislature performed as a unit, they would have shut down this issue. It was not a divisive issue. It was probably 97, 98% to 2 or 3%. But my point is that most people don't know. I was in a debate at the University of Alabama Honors College with law students, 200 or 300 in there. And I said, how many learned we have 3 equal but separate branches of government? Every hand went up. I backed up and went, whoa, you guys really need to read the Constitution. They are not equal. They never were designed equal. By design, the courts are a bit weaker. The legislative branch is a bit more powerful. And I said, think about it. Your courts have no monies, no armies. Your executive branch only has a sword, but your legislative branch has a power of the purse. It's the only branch that can impeach the other 2 branches. It's the only branch that can legislate all by itself when you hear of a veto override. It's the only branch that can declare war and raise taxes. And the professor I'm debating goes, guys, he's actually right. We need legislators that know what I just shared with you, that will stand up and lead and show some leadership when that's what the community wants. And I see the clock and the bell ringing. So
I'm not sure what that had to do with the question.
Government structure.
Of Gadsden, though. He's talking about the government structure of Gadsden.
The legislature has the power. We could have shut down the rendering plant from day one.
But that wasn't what he had to do with the question at hand, though.
We're not supposed to be talking.
I just don't know what to do with the question.
Well, that I will say, I left these questions in a general way, nothing that's super detailed, with the intent that you answer them with the way you think is appropriate and with what you feel like, the constituents are asking. Certainly you're talking to a lot more people than I am. And what do they want to know should be the answers that you're given. So I'm going to leave you leeway to talk about what you want to talk about. So, all right, let's move on to the next topic, and that is infrastructure. Who's got infrastructure?
Me.
Mac again.
Mom up.
All right. So this question. And this is not a civics question, so we'll jump into infrastructure. What do you think are the top 1 to 3 infrastructure issues that need to be addressed in Etowah, and why?
Okay, when you hear the word infrastructure, you automatically think of roads and bridges, which we absolutely need, and we always need improvement and replacement and repair. But I see infrastructure as a safe community. I see infrastructure as our schools. But one of the, we can look to Chattanooga. Chattanooga is a gig city where you got 10 gigabytes per second of high-speed internet. We need that all over Etowah County. You're seeing more and more people that work remote, and they need high-speed internet. Just like if you see a church that cannot maintain and recruit young people, that church is dying. We need Etowah County to be able to recruit and maintain our young people to grow and to blossom. We need to become, gig city with 10 gigabyte. We need to capitalize on our river. How many counties do you know that have a beautiful river go through the middle that we do nothing with? And we have Nakalula Falls that could be it could be like Stone Mountain, Georgia, where it would recruit people not for 15 minutes, but for days it would stay there. It would take a Robert Trent Jones golf course. You need a Marriott. We could easily, visitation, I saw a study that was done just a few years ago. The visitation at Nakalula Falls is off the charts, off of 59, but they stayed an average of 15 minutes, spent $0. So when you talk about infrastructure, it's a lot more than just the roads and the bridges, safe community owned, but we've got to recruit and retain our young people to blossom and grow. And I guess my 2 minutes is up.
Well, you got 30 seconds, actually.
30 seconds. But there's so much more that we could focus on, that we definitely need the roads and bridges. When I see infrastructure, I think of our schools. I spent 10 years on the Etowah County Board of Education. I'm a career tech guy. The goal is to get our students either college or career ready. One of the biggest things we did in Montgomery I was proud of is when Airbus came, was we did dual enrollment, post-secondary career tech training where the kids, Airbus needed 900 welders, start and pay $50,000 a pop. We didn't have them, so we took high school students that could be dual enrolled, which I love dual enrollment as a former school board guy. They could graduate high school with a plumbing, electrical, welding. I'm getting the wrap-up signal, but you get my point. You talk about, my goal has always been break generational poverty. We got to teach people to work. That's part of the infrastructure we want to continue to work on.
All right. Gil, we'll move over to you this time. Move that direction.
Well,
Infrastructure.
I got infrastructure. Infrastructure to me is the road and bridges. We can go outside of that parameter, but without infrastructure, you don't have economic development. And for the growth that he's speaking of that we need economic development. Our county has not grown in 40, 50 years. And if you continue doing the same thing, expect a different result, then you're wrong, because we need to do something different. So these new projects that have been talked about, from the mega site to the Eastern Connector, they're going to help make a difference in actually working with the railroad to bring in the infrastructure that can serve the mega site, that will have access to Mobile, because they will be able to put double-decker containers on there the whole way down. And it doesn't have to be loaded in Mobile. It can be loaded from here and taken on the ships. The other infrastructure, broadband is one of the most important things as he speaks of. The problem is the cost. Now, I used to live in Chattanooga. I know exactly what they're very progressive, and they've got a lot of wealthy people that live there that started this. And in Gadsden, in Etowah County, tell you what, I went to a number of wealthy people 10 years ago. I said, would you help if we put a group together to invest the river? They said, no, I'm not going to put my money here. Now, I'm hoping that has changed, because, as I said, the leaders in the community, they're ready to see a change. And I'm not just talking about government leaders. I'm talking about business leaders that want to put their assets, or they want to put things behind to move forward.
All right. Jamie, over to you on infrastructure.
I think without a doubt, you won't see anybody change on infrastructure, roads and bridges. The last 2 years and the next 8 years, you are going to see the landscape of Etowah County and this region change. And it's doing that because of the leadership that we have in place. They have a vision, and they are moving this area forward, without a doubt. The MPO has made a huge announcement. The state made a big announcement. We've made one with a mega site. We are moving this county and this area in the right direction. Without a doubt, roads and bridges. And the way to make those things better is, just like Max said, is to bring ideas and things to our area that people will come in, stay, and spend money. I don't think anybody will ever discount our ideas and the things that we want to do in this area. It's about putting people in place who can make those things happen, who see the vision, and who will say, hey, you have a great idea, let's run with it, and let's do that. Just because it's not my idea doesn't mean it's not a good idea. And sometimes people who have great ideas will give it off and let somebody else run with it. We need people like that in position. Besides going, hey, it's not my idea, I don't care about it. And I think we're starting to get people in position and people in place who are okay with that. And you're seeing this area change and go in a better direction than you have in the last 4 or 5 years.
All right. Mark, over to you.
Infrastructure. Well, I totally agree that roads and bridges is an extremely important part. I'm very excited about the announcement of the extension of 759. That's something that's been needed for 37 years since it was built originally. Those kind of things. So I think, infrastructure is extremely important. Roads and bridges are extremely important. But I do also agree that we must take our ideas further than just those things. If we have the best roads and bridges in town, but don't have anybody to drive on them, we haven't accomplished anything. I think the idea of the internet, the broadband, is extremely important. I've been in 2 events today where we could not get good internet to broadcast what we were going to do. So those things are extremely important. That, I believe, is a drawing to for businesses as well to do that. I think it's also important that part of our infrastructure, as Mac said, I agree 100%. We must look at how we're investing in our community. A workforce development program that is in place today that can help prepare the next generation of workforce is one of our most dynamic opportunities to bring industry into the area. When we bring industry in, that brings revenue in. We bring revenue in, we can help update our infrastructure. I think all those things are extremely important, and at the top of the list of things I will work on is representative.
All right. Well, we are halfway through the 6 questions. I just want to take a quick interruption. I see a couple questions that are jumped in there or dropped in the comments. Not going to pull those up tonight. We're going to roll on through the questions, but I, again, would encourage these guys to jump in and answer some of those. Take a look and see what you guys are saying. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, please hit that like or share button, and we will move on to the next question, and that is going to be on education. So who drew education? All right, Gil. Let me flip the camera back around, and we are going to the question for education is, what are the key aspects of the Etowah school systems that impact our ability to grow and or recruit industries with higher wages?
The education component of this is workforce development. And all 3 school systems I've been talking with, they're working on dual enrollment with career tech at Gadsden State Community College. And we're very close to an announcement regarding a workforce development building. So these are going to be able to bring, from 9th graders to 12th graders over there to have dual enrollment, to have the education, to have the career tech, whether it's welding, robotics. There are going to be a number of different things that are happening. Very close to that. All the schools have bought in. Now, also, I'm working with some business leaders around the state. We're trying to drop the career tech down to the 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade as well, to be involved so they can see the different types of businesses and jobs that are available that they would not have been able to see before, because they might be limited in what they see. If they're in a small community they might be part of. And we all know that education is the foundation for everything. And we as a legislature, we have increased pay for teachers. We have the largest education trust fund budget ever. We are trying to make a difference. I tell you what, we're still on the low side, but I tell you, we're making a big difference because we're expanding pre-K, and I think we're up to about 60%. But again, 100% will be wonderful. But I tell you what, as we make these strides, actually in a lot of these lower income counties, in communities, that is making a difference for them. But we have to bring it all together. And I'm a big advocate of staying with education and making a difference, because we've introduced the Literacy Act, the Numeracy Act, which will help a tremendous amount. And as we move forward, as a legislator, you have to be able to have great relationships with your superintendents, your principals, and really, I've talked to many, many teachers throughout the district and actually the county as well.
All right. Well, we'll move over to you, Mac.
All right, very good. And I did spend 10 years on the Etowah County Board of Education, 2 years, 2 terms serving as its president. As we've seen in the last couple of years, we've got a problem with education in Alabama that we've got to focus on, and it's a lot of issues with it. But we've got to continually to recruit the best and the brightest for our teachers first. We need to focus on financial literacy. Only 23% of the population gets a 4-year degree. We need to identify those others and focus on those that are not going to go the college route to get a career route. Marrying with industry to see what they need taught, what they learn, and mentor and let students shadow is a huge component of that. But if we can teach, we had a teacher at the Career Tech Center when I was on the school board that literally went to Honda and some places on his own, found out what he wanted for his students to be hired, and he started teaching just that, and he had students going there straight to Honda at really good paying jobs. Identify simple things like that. We're not going to solve it overnight. I do see the broadband and the 10 gigabytes as being a huge component. The school of the future is not going to be brick and mortar as you know it now. I learned that years ago as a school board member. We got to keep thinking out of the box, outside. Thank you. I love the wrap-ups.
Well, it's I appreciate you guys sticking with the time. We're trying to move along. We're just shy of an hour, so time flies when you're live on the internet.
When you're having fun.
So, all right, Mark.
Yes, sir. Okay,
Hit
well,
me up on education.
it's going to be tough to try to get in what I would like to say in my time frame here, but education is at the top of my list. And of course, the things I've heard already said here, workforce development is absolutely one of the most dynamic ways we're going to help train the students for the future, workforce for the future. To give you a quick thing, I was in a awards day at Hoax Bluff School this week. The principal asked every student to stand that was in career tech. Almost half of the entire class stood. Two students received scholarships for the FAME program, which they will go right out of high school to work at Honda, and they will be, as Max said, will be getting great high-paying jobs. It is absolutely tremendous. But the thing that I've heard as I've sat down in the office of principals across this district, and I've been in almost every one of them, is please, when it comes to education, listen to us, communicate with us, and see what our needs are. And I think as legislators and as leaders, we must do that. We must sit down, we must listen, we must see what they're struggling with, know what they're struggling with, and communicate with our education, those that work in it every single day, in order to make sure we're not just throwing at them what we think they need, but we're giving them what they need to take our education system for down the road, make it progress. So,
All right. Hey, you did a pretty good job of staying inside most of the minute. So
He can do that.
I'm giving you guys some leeway. So we'll see. All right, Jamie, you want to?
Yeah, well, of course, Mac took my numbers, but 75% of our kids that graduate go straight into the workforce, right? So we need to focus on our and don't take away from our college-bound kids, but focus on our workforce development kids. And I think we're making strides going into that with our career tech program. I spoke highly with Dr. Murphy at Gadsden State, Dean Smith over there with our advanced manufacturing. We hope that it's coming this way. We need to focus on the needs of what's going on here, right? And test them in that direction. ACTs, work keys. I think our teachers are doing a great job teaching our kids and getting them ready. I think that we're maybe not testing them in the best way they could be tested to show the success that they're doing. And I think we just need to talk with our teachers, talk with our board members, and give them the tools that they need in order to make them successful. Because as a non-educator, I don't know, I'm not an expert in their field, and I think we need to talk with them and just be close with them and get their advice and let them be the experts in it and assist them.
All right. I'm going to follow up, and I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this, but since you guys are, from the education side of things, headed to, to represent us in Montgomery at the state level, I'd like to give, we'll call it 30 seconds to each of you. Just kind of explain your understanding of And part of this, I guess, is to educate me, and hopefully, I'm not the only one that doesn't really understand how all this stuff works. But what can you, as a state legislator, do with regard to our education system? Obviously things like CRT is a big issue in today's world. But in terms of impacting from Montgomery, what is being taught to our kids, and how all that, what specifically can you do from the state level, and what's your understanding of that relationship? Does that make any sense in that question? So, Mark, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Well, you mentioned CRT. We know that it's not anything that needs to be taught in our schools, and I think that's pretty much given across the state with what our state school board has done and the stand they've taken with that. The next thing is the thing that I hear when I talk to educators and I talk to principals and I talk to others is we need resources. Okay, so I know as legislators we need to be able to look at what resources we can find to help resource our schools. I don't have time to go into the list of things I've had people to give me in the last few days. I need help here. I need help there. I need this resource here, resource there. So it's important to communicate with them, listen to them, and as a legislator, try to find the resources they need for our schools. But it's also important that we make sure that we guard our schools from being imposed with things that are totally, completely against our values, and be that wall to protect our schools, to make sure that things don't come in there that are totally in opposition to the values we possess.
All right, Jamie?
Well, I think that's going to come down to electing board members, making sure that superintendents are put in place, and not having fear of teaching what's meant to be taught, and making sure that they are being taught math, science, and history, and not being politicized in school. Right? Politics has no place in school. Mm-hmm. And we need to make sure that when a teacher is teaching that kind of stuff, that they're pulled out, right? And have it set where you don't teach an agenda, you teach the curriculum.
All right.
Period.
Gil?
Well, if you talk about it on the state level, it's basically learning to deal with the state leaders, whether it's the State Board of Education, Eric Mackey, who's the state superintendent. I've had numerous meetings with him. We've talked about praxis, the test that teachers take right now. Some of those are going away because the entry level for those praxis tests, they're very difficult, and they're not all pertaining to what that particular teacher is teaching. But it's about the relationships, but it's also looking at different ideas, whether it's from charter schools, whether it's from the money following the student. Should those things happen, but you work collectively and deal with those relationships. And it's just like working with the local superintendents, the local principals, the local educators. They're the specialists in these fields, and you have to learn, and you learn by listening. So the bottom line is it's relationships, but also talking with these people, because I'm surely not an educational professional. So I defer to those people, and I've got to know a lot of the nonprofits that are also helping on the education side. And again, listening to learn what is available and trying to implement some of those ideas. Okay. That's the best way to do it.
All right. Mac?
Well, absolutely. And as a school board guy, you want to recruit and have the absolute best and brightest, but we need to pay the best, and for the best and brightest. Pay needs to be increased for those guys, but at the same time, the component that has been closed out of our public schools all over are the parents. We've got to include the parents back and let them be part of the decision making. All of we've seen on the news, especially during the COVID mess, where parents were shut down. They need to be included in the schools. One of the things when I was a school board member, we tried to do our best to encourage parents into the school. That's who's really funding everything. But everything you can, and listen to the parents, because right across the nation, what Jamie was talking about, instead of them teaching writing and reading and arithmetic, they're wanting to tell them you discover your own gender. If you listen to the parents, that mess will stop, and just let them be part of it. I am a huge school choice guy, as everybody knows. I love us having the opportunity where the money could follow the student. because every system is not great. We are blessed in Etowah County that we got 3 amazing school systems. That's not the case in Anniston and Bessemer or in Mobile. And if you're trapped in that failing school system, we need a way for you, because if you've got means, you could move or you could send your kid to a private school. I want that kid that is from with a poor background to have the same opportunity. Because just like we saw the other day where a kid from Birmingham got a scholarship to Harvard, they are out there. We need to identify those. And we definitely need the best and the brightest. And we need those guys that are on the front lines. I could never do the job that these teachers do. They are absolutely like a preacher is called. Most of our teachers have been called from above and anointed for the job they do. Every one of us can point to a teacher that impacted our lives. Mine was a gentleman named Johnny Parker that was my electrical instructor that took me, nurtured me, had me working for him, that I was the youngest master electrician in the state of Alabama to this day. There hadn't been another.
All right. Well, thank you for the follow-up question. All right. So who has a master plan?
I have got that one.
You've got the master plan.
Yes.
All right. Well, so we got 2 left. So let's jump in here. And the question for the master plan is, what role can our state representatives play in the development and execution of a countywide master plan? Again, I know a lot of this stuff is somewhat regurgitated from the one-on-one discussions we've had, but kind of want to hear your thoughts, across the board, and really from the state representative standpoint of helping, and being a part of Etowah County developing a master plan. What's that? What are your thoughts? So what role can our state representatives play in the development and execution of a countywide master plan?
Well, I think it starts first, Michael, with, again, as we have stated here several times, it starts first with learning that we are a team. We're not fighting against each other. We're not working against each other. We need to be working together for a common goal, and that's to move our community forward. So to create a master plan, and the old saying is nobody plans to fail, they just fail to plan. If we sit back and if we're passive and complacent, satisfied, then nothing ever changes. We stay the same as we are. But if we look ahead with a visionary outlook, a progressive outlook and a visionary outlook, then we're always saying, what can we do? How can we create things that's going to make our community better? How do we develop our community? It's already been mentioned about some of the natural resources we have here that could be developed into great things to bring economic growth into our community. So we must come together. The key, I believe, Michael, is working together as a team with county commissioners, with city leaders, legislators, coming together and saying, okay, we're all in this together. We have one goal, and that's to move our community forward. So let's lay some plans. Let's have some immediate things we can do now. Let's have some things we can do later down the road. And let's never get our eye off of moving our community forward and laying those plans to move our community forward. So, the whole goal to me is it has to be about coming together. It has to be about working together with a common goal and then sitting down together as one. Like it's already been mentioned, that doesn't mean we're all going to agree on everything, but we've got to agree on the one thing, and that's that we're here to make our community a better place. So that's how I believe that's going to happen, and I believe that is essentially important to make it happen.
All right. Jamie, we'll move on to you.
Well, like you said, it's communication. The county master plan is understanding each city's plan and then understanding how to implement that plan, how it fits inside the county or the district, right? So, and then the role of the state legislator is executing that plan and assisting and giving assets to that plan, right? And that being a facilitator. So I don't think anybody up here is going to have a different answer. I think what we're going to have to decide is who is going to help move that plan forward and who's the best qualified to move that plan forward. I don't think that you could put 10 of us up here because we all have the same logic. We all want to see this county and this district be successful. It's just who's going to be the one who can move us forward, who's going to be the one who has the best intellect, who has the best relationship building process, who can do that. That's what it's going to boil down to.
All right. Gil, over to you.
I think as a state legislator, what you do, you listen. If it's a county-wide plan that's going to be put together, you're there to support them. You're not there to tell them what to do. It's about your relationship. If they need, just as Jamie said, assets, or if there's funding that you need to obtain to help them, you're supporting them. That's what you're acting as a support vehicle. Also with all the municipalities, again, working together, as Jamie said, we're not going to have much of a different answer, but who can be there and has those relationships that can help the most? I can go off on tangents how I was able to help the county, redeem over $1 million. But again, it's working with the facility, working with the commission, the municipalities to move forward in their plans and supporting them.
Okay. Mac?
Well, your legislature can absolutely do a lot in setting up the boards and committees that you need. I hope we never see another city prey on sister cities like they did without the cohesion that should be involved there. But the bottom line, the legislature can absolutely, like I said, it's the last line of defense, could trump anything if you have a legislature that will work together. If the delegation would all hold hands when you see injustice go on, everything they said is accurate, but we've got to have somebody that will lead, and sometimes it's not fun to lead. Jamie could tell you in battle, it wasn't fun to lead groups in there. When somebody's shooting at you, I could not imagine. But sometimes leading, it takes a little fire like that. But I see things a little different than the legislature. The constitutional role of the legislature is to pass the budgets. That is the basics of it. You've got to have somebody that's got the gumption to go wherever. The whole thing with the rendering plant could have been avoided if the legislature, our local delegation, would have done their job for the people. And it's that simple. We just need people that will stand up and do it. It would have never progressed a minute longer had I been there.
All right. So that leaves us with the business environment. Who's got that one?
That would be
it's got to be
last,
Jamie, because I think
obviously.
you're the last one. So, this is one where we've talked about everything is about, or at least what we're focused on with Advanced Etowah. The discussions that have come out of the rendering plant and have gone on and on for this last year, 2 years. Economic development, business development. I've said it multiple times. There's tons and tons of issues that we have. I understand the Humane Society and the wild or dogs that have gotten out of control. The animal population, like that's a huge issue that's rampant in Gadsden. There's a ton of other issues. That we don't want to discount. I've had a few folks message me about some other thing. Hey, why aren't we talking about this? Why aren't we talking about that? The reality is that what we really kind of have seen through the rendering plant, the main thing about that is economic development. We've talked about this individually, but if we don't move forward and raise the quality of life, raise incomes, if we don't build bigger business, more money, all the other issues to me seem like they're not, they're just, they become less and less relevant because Etowah County will just continue either down the mediocre path that it's been on or continue to decline. So all of this, what we're really focused on is how do we grow? How do we build? How do we get better jobs? How do we raise household income? So business environment, that question is, how do we grow existing business, encourage new business development from current citizens, and recruit new businesses that will increase the household income in Etowah County?
Well, we have to show outside businesses that we are inviting them and that we work together, right? Where there's no infighting, right? We cannot have a business come in or look to us and see that two cities don't work together or whatever. So we have to recruit and invite and be conducive. And we want to invite businesses that are conducive to our area, right? That fit Etowah County, fit Gadsden, fit Rainbow City. So we want to do that. And I think that right now is probably one of the best times that we've had. We got the mega site we're pumping millions into, not just us, our partners, everybody. The 759. We just have, we have the potential for the next 2 or 3 months where billions of dollars are being pumped into this area. And so we are on the map, right? Things are happening here. So as long as we don't mess up, right, and elect wrong people or put bad characters in place that are in it for them, right, and not in it for the people, we are on the right track. And and that's really kind of a challenge to the people of Etowah County, to elect the right people. Go out and vote and elect the right people that you see that are in it for the people, right? Because right now we have great commissioners on staff. We have good legislators. We have good people in good places that are moving this county in the right direction. And we need to continue that because we have a lot of momentum at this point. I mean, you guys have gotten on board. There's just people who are excited about Etowah County, not just Etowah County people, not just, but Montgomery, all around, who see us investing in ourselves, who see us getting on board, and said that right now they have it going on, and we want to get on board. And so we have to just make this place attractive for other people to want to come in and say, this is somewhere that I want to be, because they are moving in the right direction. So we just have to go out and recruit and show them that we're willing to, and we're not always going to get along. I mean, that's just, Cain and Abel didn't get along, and they were brothers. And so you're not going to. We just have to move forward and move in the right direction and know that it's not about us.
All right. We'll move over to Mark. You head in your direction.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I agree 100%. We must work together. One of the greatest ways we attract industry into an area is when those industry looks and they see that our elected officials and city leaders across the map are working together. You know, I told you, Michael, in our interview a few weeks ago, that to me, one of the greatest devastations of the rendering plant was the division that was created by continuing to push an issue that has already been said, should have been dealt with much sooner and whatever, but it could just continue to be pushed, created a divide. And that's something that causes businesses to not want to come into an area. So we must work together. We must pull together. We must have one goal, and that is to have a team effort and let businesses see that we are unified in working together through our cities and our governments. We must have industrial development in this area. We got too many empty buildings, too many businesses that have left Gadsden and left Etowah County, and we've got to let that be our number one goal, that nothing can stand in the way of creating the atmosphere to attract industry and to bring them into the area. And working together as a team, in my opinion, is one of the greatest ways we attract that. And division is one of the greatest ways we distract businesses for coming into a region.
All right. Mac, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Something that came out of Advanced Etowah is the demand for accountability and transparency. I think it's incredible the way you guys brought everybody together, that people are going to be paying better attention. Something, when you say creating the business environment, businesses look at the arts, they look at the education, they look at the workforce development of your students, they look at safety of the city. Since I was 22 years of age, I've been creating jobs. My wife and I have recruited multiple multi-million-dollar businesses to this state and into this county that are nothing but tax-paying, components of the community. And I can tell you firsthand of some of the headaches we ran into trying to do something really good for our community that people wanted. I could tell you horror stories about building a Dollar General, or even when we brought Mayor Electric here, or when we brought Rexel to Anniston. You got multi-million-dollar companies coming in, but the environment has to be conducive. We need a friendly environment. And honestly, everything comes from leadership. All the red tape and bureaucracy comes from there. If you've got the right people, and we got sharp people, we got business people, community mind people, it's going to flow much better, and we're going to recruit these people.
All right. Gil, over to you.
Business environment. If you look at what has happened the last 3 years, I tell you, there have been more positive things that have happened, and more most recently from the mega site to the Eastern Connector. And actually, I've been talking with a company. There are about 3 companies looking at the Goodyear site. Now, the problem is Goodyear doesn't share much information about any of that. But this particular company has some great plans for that. But again, nothing can be announced until Goodyear decides what to do. But again, it's moving forward with that. And I know on the mega site, the business environment for that, working with Norfolk Southern, also working with these other companies that are looking at it. And I'm not sure who they are, but I heard there are about 3 prospects that are looking at it. The business environment, yes, we as a legislator, we do play an important part of it, but we're there as a support for our local folks. We work with the Department of Commerce, we work for the Department of Education as well, because just has been said, education, arts, the support, if a company moves here, they want to have good support services from education, the arts, culture, things to do, tourism. That's the type of thing that they want to see. But as a state legislator, our job is to help instigate this and help make it happen. And again, it's helping solve the problem with that person that's coming in. If they have a problem, we go to them, we find out how do we solve it, and that's what I'm very good at. Thank you.
All right. All right, guys. Well, that is all the questions. What we're going to do is I'm going to turn it over and give you guys each 2 minutes for wrap up and closing thoughts. I think we've been going long enough on a Cinco de Mayo Thursday night. But again, guys, if you've got questions, drop them in the comments. I certainly would encourage you, head over to advancedetowah.com, go to the election 22. You can look at the candidate profiles. We'll get, you've got links to the individual videos. You got information from these guys, links to their website, Facebook, wherever they have information out there. Go and check them out. And I will take this opportunity to beat the drum yet again. We talk about leadership. It's been talked about a lot tonight. The ultimate leadership lies with us as voters. It lies with us as the citizens, to get as educated as we have time to get educated about, to get smart, to get to know and understand these guys, try to understand the issues as best we can. Ultimately, though, we've got to lead them. We've got to vote, and we've got to speak our mind, and let them know what our thoughts are, and not be afraid to do that, because that's where the ultimate leadership comes from. Not a single elected official is going to move Etowah County forward, better or for worse. That is all going to come down to us as individuals. So that all starts May 24th for these gentlemen. The primaries, that's when that's their election cycle. So don't forget to turn out and vote then. So, all right, let's flip the camera back around, and we'll finish up with some closing thoughts. Does anyone want to volunteer to start the closing remarks? Anybody?
I volunteered, Gil.
That is just kind of back. In closing, I tell you what it comes down to is what you're going to expect of your state legislator. If he's going to work for you, or if he's going to work for himself. I'm a person of service. I'm the one that works for everyone to try to get the job done. And let's go back to some of the situations. I didn't take a stance for or against on the rendering plant. Basically, I listened to everybody, and in the end, I helped bring it to an end. It might have lasted too long, but if there are certain reasons why it lasted that long, and there's not enough time to go into that. But as a leader, you ask people in Montgomery, I'm a team player, I try to get things done, and I've got some really good legislation passed that helped, citizens of our state. Many people talk to me about it, and I tell you what, a lot is thrown at you at one time, and you have to become an expert at a lot of these subjects, or you try to. But you have to have support people that you have to work with to make things happen. Because if you go it alone, you'll never get anything done. So as a leader, I think I work well with all of our local elected officials, whether they get along or not, but I talk to all of them. And again, there are some folks in our present legislature that, they've had strained relationships with some of our municipalities, and that's okay, but we're trying to mend those bridges so they can work together. And as a leader, I think the bottom line is you serve the people. That's it.
All right. Mac, we'll move on to you.
Yes, sir.
Closing remarks, 2 minutes.
Well, when people ask me, and I get people, because I served 2 terms as party chair, I'm on the state executive committee, I'm on our local committee. When people are asking me who to vote for so many times, the first thing I always tell them is look for the person that does not need a job. I can assure you, I have 2 full-time jobs. I do not need a job, but I've served my entire life. We need people that will listen to the people and do the will of the people. As a representative, that's what you're supposed to do, is go to Montgomery and represent their values, not my own, down there. The very first bill that I had signed into law, and I was featured on the cover of a magazine with the governor signing it, saved the taxpayers millions of dollars. It went under the radar. It wasn't in the local paper here or anything. That's the kind of thing we need people to do, is go down there and work for the people. The rendering plant was such an easy one that I'm so disappointed in. Connie and I spent tens of thousands of dollars fighting in the lawsuit for our community. We invest every year in our community. These 2 buildings right behind Rainbow City Hall, over 100 years old, we saved those. They had been vacant for about a dozen years. But if you look at them, they're absolutely gorgeous out there. But we saved those. We love doing that all over the community with commercial and residential properties. I do need your vote May 24th. If you could back Mac, and I promise you, I will always answer you, and I will never embarrass you.
All right. We'll swing it around. I guess I'll leave it up to the 2 of y'all. Who wants to close out first?
I'll do it.
He got a haircut.
Appreciate it. People ask me why I don't want to get into this, and my answer is this is all I know. Since I was 18, I have served this county. I've been beat up, blown up, shot at, ran over, and I don't know any different. I've chased drug dealers, murderers. I've chased warlords and terrorists all over the world. I want to be an asset to Etowah County, and this is how I can do it. I want to serve the people, and I want to protect our law enforcement and our kids. This is all I know how to do, and this is the best way I know how to do it. And I would appreciate your vote and your support on May 24th. Thank you.
All right. Mark?
Okay. Michael, I have 4 wonderful grandchildren. One that's graduating high school this year from Pokes Bluff, 3 more coming on. I have 2 daughters that both serve in our education system in Etowah County as teachers. Son-in-law who is the Dean of Workforce Development at Gadsden State, other son-in-law a full-time minister. And I'm like Mac, I don't need anything else to do. I'm at a point in my life that I could go a lot of different routes. But I have a desire to make sure that I do something to leave the community that I've grown up in, property I've lived on that's been in our family 160 years, that I do something to make sure that I leave this community in some better shape than I found it, that I leave a legacy for the next generation to progress and go further than I was able to go and to grow. I'd like to see those 4 grandchildren stay in Etowah County, but unless we take this county forward, that may not happen. I am a servant. That's all I've known in my entire adult life is serving, and I want to take that service to the next level, and that's why I'm submitting myself to this position as representative for District 29 to do exactly that, to leave my community, to leave my area better than it is, to leave it for the next generation better than it is, so they can go forward and have more than the previous generation has. My name is Mark Gidley. I'm a candidate for District 29, and I would sure appreciate your vote and support on May the 24th.
All right. Well, Guys, again, gentlemen, thank y'all. Again, thank y'all so much for coming in and doing this. I know this last couple of years have been a little weird. I think it's great that we've got a lot of stuff going on the internet, a lot of different shows. Certainly hope you're getting out and talking on answering more questions there. Perhaps getting into more detail on different issues than where I lead you. But great conversation. I hope people are encouraged by listening to all four of these gentlemen and the thoughts. There is a momentum in this community. I definitely, I know that was mentioned, and I would very much concur with that. And if we don't see that momentum through, if we don't push that momentum and keep going, there could be, we just don't have a choice. We've got to move forward and push forward as a county. So that being said, Cinco de Mayo, Thursday night.
Tonight,
Okay.
my beautiful wife is sitting in the back of the room, and you've mentioned Cinco de Mayo so much, I'm going to have to take her from here and go buy her Mexican food.
I thought you were saying you're gonna buy her a beer.
She loves Mexican, and so I just want you to know you put me in a spot. So.
Gotcha. Well, I would apologize, but it is Cinco de Mayo, and I'm all about supporting our local restaurants, particularly El Tap, just down the street here from our hosts. And I'll leave it with a huge thank you to Mayor Taylor, the Rainbow City Council, for letting us sit in here. I hope these gentlemen didn't dirty up your seats too bad. But thank you so much for letting us use this facility. It's great. And I think it makes a good format for us to do this kind of stuff. So May 13th, we're going to have the county commissioners come in and do this same sort of thing and hear what they have to say to each other. Not you, Jamie, county commissioner, but the candidates for county commission. So guys, again, thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Thank you guys for watching, and y'all have a good night. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you for having us.